Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Mem Beis in Shvuah. Says we learn from Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael Hanasun Batzar Shivya, and today's the 34th yard site of Kurt's mother, Miriam Bas Yosef. May she have a aliyat neshama. We're down to the two dots, about 10, 11 lines from the bottom of the page. Einish born al tanis chershet v'katan vein mashminas hakatan. So the Mishnah said, the last part of the Mishnah, the long Mishnah on Daf Lamed Chesam Bey said that we don't swear, we make a shvuah smad b'miktzas if a plaintiff comes and says, you owe me $100, and you say, no, I only owe you 25. You got to swear on the other 75. That's the shvuah smad Torah, shvuah smad b'miktzas. However, if the plaintiff is a chershet v'katan, a cherish is a person who's deaf and dumb and is considered to be not have any seichel, like a shota, like an imbecile, and they are considered like a katan, that they don't have das to say anything, to do anything. Their actions are not considered real actions. Therefore, if they make a claim, you don't have to swear on something that they claim. We also don't make a katan swear, because his shvuah doesn't mean anything. My time, what's the reason? The pasuk says in the parsha of Shomrim at the beginning in Shmos Chaf Beis, beginning of Chaf Beis, Kitein ish al re'eyu kesef okel mishmor. If a man gives something to his fellow to watch, to guard, and Einasius katan klum, if a katan gives something, that doesn't mean anything. So the whole parsha is only speaking about a gadol, not a katan. Avanishban lik katan will hegdish. However, if a katan has a claim against you, or you're trying to take something from hegdish, you do have to swear. How can you say, you just said a minute ago, we don't swear if a chereshet v'katan have a claim against you. Then you say, you do swear to them. What's going on? We just said before, you don't swear on a claim of theirs. Amar Rav, so Rav says, here it's not speaking about where the katan is claiming something for himself, but he's claiming that you owe my father money. Right, the katan is the survivor, the atom, the orphan, and he says, you owe my father money. If he's coming for his own claim, then that doesn't mean anything. However, if he's coming for his father's claim, then he does, even though he's a katan. Listen, Rabbi Yaakov says, sometimes you swear a shvuah smad b'miktzas, not when there's a plaintiff or a claimant who's coming to you, but rather on your own admission. You make a shvuah. How's that? Where he himself is the claim, he himself is the claimant against himself. How's that? Omerlo, somebody said to him, a katan said to him, you owe my father money. My father has $100 of yours, that's $100 of his, it's in your hands. In other words, his father isn't around. But here he's saying like this, no, not where the katan came. I'm sorry, the other way around. Yeah. I owe your father money. He gave me 100. I gave him back half. Your father gave me $100, and I returned to him. I gave him back. I fed him, so to speak. I gave him back 50. He swear. Now over here, the katan didn't say anything. I'm jumping ahead when I said the katan said something. We'll see. He says over here, a guy says sometimes. Rav Meir Shapiro says that sometimes you swear on your own claim. How's that? Not that a guy came to you and said, you owe me $100 and you admitted to 50. No, you come to the katan and you say, you know what? I owed your father 100, but I gave him back 50. So he says, in a case like that, raise an ishba. This is a case where you're making a shvuah smad b'miktzas on your own claim. V'chomam says, that's like a meishav veda. What's a meishav veda? If I find something in the street, you can't make me make a shvuah on that, because I'll say I'll leave it there. What do I? You come in. Hey, I found your wallet outside and I returned it. Thank you very much. It's missing some money over here. You owe me something, right? So we say no. You don't swear on that. Well, it's machlokas. Rashi says it's based on the Gemara. It says that it's a kanus chachamim. Technically, could be that there is a claim there. You're claiming more, but otherwise I wouldn't return it. Some say no, that it's a doraisa because you didn't have to return in the first place. Yes, there's a mitzvah of Shavas Aveda, but you don't have to put yourself in a difficult situation. So therefore, it's like Minat Torah that a person doesn't have to make a shvu in a case like that. Some say that it's Xeris Chacham, even in a case where there's a claim, meaning I'm returning it to you, and you're making a claim that there was more here originally, and therefore I should make a shvuah. The Chacham say, you don't make a shvuah in the case, even though it could be Moed B'miktzas. I returned your wallet. You said there was $100 in the wallet. And I said, I'm sorry. When I found it, it was only 50. Okay, I should swear that I didn't steal the other 50. But that's a Meshav Aveda. Chum said, and that's the case. Nobody will return an item. Why would you return a wallet, right, with money in it when the guy who claimed against you get accused, right? So I'm saying Meshav Aveda Potter. So in this case, where the guy came to himself, where the person returning the item said to the cotton, you know what, your father owed me, I know you don't know, but your father owed me, father gave me $100 and I gave him back 50. I gave him back 50. So Rabbi Yaakov says that's motive of mixas. It was originally 100. I claim I returned 50. I got to swear in the other 50. So Rabbi Yaakov said there's a case of motive of mixas, but your own claim. The Chum say no, that's Meshav Aveda, you're potter. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yaakov, let's say Meshav Aveda potter. Doesn't he? Everybody holds a Meshav Aveda. This is like Meshav Aveda. After all, nobody had a claim against him. He just walked in and said, you know what? I found your father gave me $100. I'm returning 50. Amarab shetanu katan. So Rav says, okay, wait a minute. Rabbi Yaakov is not speaking on a case where there was no claim at all, where this man himself came and said to the kid, you know what, your father gave me 100 and I gave him back 50. No, here it's speaking about when the child did have a claim against him. The child came and said, you know, my father gave you $100. This is what I was jumping ahead, right? My father gave you $100 and where is it? And he says, well, I gave him back 50. So Rabbi Shtana Cotton. So Cotton, what do you mean? If a Cotton claimed, we just said before that you don't swear on a Cotton's claim, right? So what's going on over here? We said you swear on a Cotton's claim. We said we don't swear on a Cotton's claim. No, it's speaking about where you're claiming on your own claim. You're making a shvur on your own claim. The Cotton didn't say anything. But if that's the case, why aren't you a Meshav Aveda? The answer is, he says that the Cotton did come against him. Again, back to the first question. You don't swear on a Cotton's claim. It says Lolam Gadol. The Cotton is not really under bar mitzvah. He's really bar mitzvah. But my Korle Cotton, why is he called the Cotton? Because he's a Cotton when it comes to understanding his father's business, his father's transaction. He's not really a Cotton, he's a Gadol. If he's a Gadol, meaning he's bar mitzvah, Yochi, why do you say Tainus Asma? Says sometimes you swear on your own claim. If nobody had a claim against him, he's just admitting on his own, he's a Meshav Aveda. So what's Rabbi Yaakov talking about? So he says, no, the kid claimed against him. If the kid claimed against him, you don't swear on a claim of a Cotton. You don't swear on that at all. So what do you mean by that? So first you said he's coming with a claim of his father, but he's still a Cotton. He doesn't. So he says, no, he's really a Gadol. Well, if he's a Gadol and you call him a Cotton because he doesn't really understand his father's business, so it's a real claim. Why do you call that Tainus Atzmo? Tainus Acherbi. It really is a claim. If a guy's bar mitzvah and he has a claim against you, that's a claim. So the Gemara says, well, Tainus Achem V'Adas Asmo. It's somebody else's claim in his admission. Well, that's a classic case. Every case of motive mixes is where there's a claim against you and your motive a part of it. So let's go back now. Rashi says, no, we're really talking about where it was a child who had a claim against you. If an adult had a claim against you and he had a real claim against you, that's motive mixas. What's there to talk about? So why are we talking about over here that sometimes you swear on a child's claim? If he's an adult, then it's not a child. The answer is it really is a child. And normally, why is it called Tainus Atzmo? Right? Why is it called the And because his taina elsewhere is not considered anything, because it says Kitenish. So if a child has a claim against you, it's not really a claim. So therefore we say that's why that's why Rabbi Yaakov calls it Tainus Atzmo. But he's claiming for his father. Okay, so it's a child. So you say, wait a minute, if it's a child, it's not a claim. No, he's claiming for his father. And Rabbi Yaakov calls that Tainus Atzmo because elsewhere a child's claim doesn't mean anything. But over here it's a little bit stronger. Why? Because over here, what was the reason why we said before you don't swear on a claim of a Katan? Because he doesn't know what he's talking about. He can't do any transaction. Only if a man gives something, not if a Katan. But here a man did give it. The father was a man. So therefore, it has some meaning to it. That's what Rashi explains in the fourth line. Miu hacha tiny. It is a claim. There is the man gave something. That was his father. He bought. He's coming because of his father's depositing this with this defendant. And that's why we say that behind the Decomer says Rashi, Pomim, that sometimes, so why did the Rabbanan say it's Meshav Aveda? If it is real claim, but why? because it's not a child claiming something for himself. You stole my lollipop. No, it's a child claiming you have money of my father. My father gave you money and you didn't return it. And he says, well, I returned part of it. But Blessed Yaakov says that's a motive of mixes. The Rabbanan say it's Meishav Aveda. Well, wait a minute. So why did the Rabbanan say it's Meishav Aveda? If there's a claim against him, the kid came and said, you owe my father money. So why is that Meishav Aveda? It's not like you found a wallet in the street and you come in with it and you say, who does this belong to? The answer is they're arguing in Rabbah's famous explanation for the reason why the Torah says motive mixes Satana Yishba. Remember, if a person denies the whole loan, a person says, you didn't give me anything, and there's no Adam, etc. So he goes off scot-free, Minat Torah. Minat Rabbanan, there's a Shvuas Hesses. There's no Shvuas Motive Mixes. It's only if you're motive to part of it. Why is that? Rav can make famous drasha, we have it elsewhere. Damar Rabba, Nemamar Torah Mixes Satana Yishba. Why did the Torah say that if you're motive mixes, you have to swear? Yishba, Chazaka Kui, have a presumption that ain't on a meyes pana b'fnei balchovo. A person would not have the chutzpah to deny a whole loan. The guy says, I gave you $100 yesterday in shul. You're like, I don't know anything. You didn't give me anything. Wouldn't have such chutzpah. He would really try to deny it. The reason he can't deny him, a person cannot deny something. A person likes to deny things, but he can't deny to his creditor the whole thing. He doesn't have such chutzpah. So he really would be motive to the whole thing. Why is he emoting to half? But the reason he's not motive to the whole thing is he's trying to evade him. He figures when I get money, I'll pay him back. In other words, the guy says, Reuben says to Shimon, you owe me $100. Shimon could deny the whole thing, but he doesn't have the chutzpah to say, I don't owe you anything. So why isn't he moda? Because he doesn't have the money right now. So he says, okay, I owe you some, I'll swear on the rest, I'll owe you some. So therefore he says, I'm moda to part of it. But he figures, okay, I'm not going to, I don't owe you the rest of it, trying to push him off. I'll check my records when I get home. Hashem said, Rami Shvula, make him swear, because he should moda to the whole thing. If he owes him the whole thing, he should owe him the whole thing. In other words, a person wouldn't have the chutzpah to deny the whole thing. But he would have the chutzpah to say, I owe you some, but I paid you back. I think I paid you back some of it. I'll go check my records. So he's moda to some, so he doesn't want to deny the whole thing. But he's kofar, he denies the rest in order to push him off, to delay time. So the Torah says, make him swear. Person would have the chutzpah to lie either to the creditor himself or to his son. Wouldn't have the chutzpah to lie. Therefore, this is not Meishav Aveda. He's not returning something his own. It's not like he found a wallet in the street and is walking in with it and say, hey, I found your wallet. Here, the child had a claim against him. You owe my father money. The person wouldn't have the chutzpah to lie nor to the father nor to the son. So therefore, this is not Meishav Aveda. The guy has a claim against him, and he wouldn't have the chutzpah to lie. So therefore, he's motiv b'mikzas. He has to make a shvua d'oraisa in this case. That's where you swear. And again, you don't swear on a claim of a child claiming for himself. But if he's claiming for his father, where the father gave him something, it fits into kitain ish el re'eu kesav okel lishmor. It fits into the pasuk. Then Rav Yaakov says that is considered a motiv b'mikzas, and you have to swear. And that's what we mean in the Mishnah. Our Mishnah, when it says sometimes you swear to a katan, sometimes you swear to a katan. In other words, you don't swear on a claim of a katan. But you swear to a katan when he's coming with a claim for his father, because then you wouldn't have the chutzpah to lie. It's you wouldn't lie, and therefore you're motiv b'mikzas. It's just like being motiv to the father, motiv b'mikzas. For Rabbanan Sabri, but Rabbanan say no. The fun of Huda and Meis, you wouldn't have the chutzpah to lie to the father. But for the child, you would have the chutzpah to lie. To the father, he lent me money. To the kid, I can say, yeah, I didn't have any money. And since I didn't have the chutzpah to lie and deny the whole thing, therefore, when I admit to part of it, I'm Meishav Aveda. I'm saying, you know what? Yeah, I do owe him $50, or owe him $25, or owe him part. Says the Gemara. So therefore, that's the machlokas over here. Our Mishnah goes like Rav Yaakov says, this is motiv b'mikzas when the child is coming with a claim for the father. Whereas Rabbanan say no, it's not motiv b'mikzas because he's Meishav Aveda. He could lie to the kid. He doesn't have any compunctions about lying to the child. To the father, he would have a chutz. He wouldn't have a chutzpah to lie, but to the child, he would. Says the Gemara, you say it goes like Rav Yaakov, who says that when the child made a claim against you, claiming that you owe money to his father, then you have to make a shvua manexus. Haktani Reisha, the beginning earlier in the Mishnah, he said, my father has some money in your hands. No, I've only got 50 dinar potter. Your potter meisha avedu. There you see that the child is a meisha. Therefore, you see that the defendant is a meisha aveda. Because when you say, if a person says you owe me $100 and you retort, I only owe you 50, that's Marav Mixas. But when a child comes with a claim, the Mishnah said, you're potter because it's Meshav Aveda. So how can you say the Mishnah goes like Rav Yaakov, who says that in that case, where you admit it to the child, you're considered a Marav Mixas, you have to make a Shvua Daraisa, versus Hasam Delamar Barley. In the first part of the Mishnah is where he wasn't sure. The kid said, I think you may have owed my father some money. Before he died, I think he said you owe him some, I'm not sure. In a case like that, you're a Meshav Aveda because you would have the chutzpah to lie. Therefore, if you admit to anything, you're Meshav Aveda and you're potter. Barley. In this case, at the end of the Mishnah, we're speaking about where the child is sure. The child says, I know I saw my father lend you $100 and you only returned 50 and he only admits to 50. Then he's not a Meshav Aveda, he's a Mara Mixas. That's one way to understand the Mishnah. That's all explaining the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, and sometimes, why do you swear to a cotton? You said you don't swear to a cotton. You don't swear to a cotton when he comes with his own claim. When he comes with the claim of his father and he's sure about it, then it's moda b'mikzas, according to Blazer Miyakov, according to Rabbanan, not. That's all one way to learn the Mishnah. Another way to learn the Mishnah is the following. Shmuel says, no. L'katan, what do we mean by a katan? L'para minichse katan. When you're coming to get paid back, the father owed him money. You have a legitimate claim. You have it's not a moda b'mikzas over here. We're talking about where you have a claim on the father's estate. If the father owed you money, you have a shtar, you have an IOU, whatever, it's all backed up, etc. And there's item that the loan took place, whatever it was, the father owes him money. Now the father died and you're coming to collect from Yisomim. So we have a rule, the Yisomim don't always know what's going on. And therefore we have a rule that if you collect from Yisomim, you have to make a shvua. Even though you have item that you gave him the money, you have to make sure, you have to satisfy the court and to satisfy who are protecting the children, you have to make sure, even if you have a shtar chov, you have to make a shvua to make sure that he still owes you the money. You have to swear, there was a loan there, or a deposit, whatever it was. I gave the father money, but I have to swear that I haven't been paid back. That's what he means over here. Shmuel Amar L'Katan, not where a Katan's coming a claim. If a Katan has a claim against you, no, that doesn't mean anything. But if you're trying to collect from the nechasim and assets of a child based on the estate of his father, then you must make a shvua. That's what he means over here, that you have to swear to Katan and to Hekdesh. Shmuel Amar L'Katan lipar minechse Katan lehegdish lipar minechse Hekdesh. If you want to collect from Hekdesh, what are we talking about Hekdesh? We'll explain in a minute. L'Katan lipar minechse Katan tanina pekmar. We already learned that though. Minechse Yisam liyafrol b'shvua. We already have that elsewhere. We're going to see later on when you're coming to collect from Yisam, you have to collect your shvua. Tarti lamli. What do I need to say in this Mishnah and the Mishnah later on? Hakamashman karabaya kashisha teaches like the halacha of Abai the elder. Tanya Abai kashisha Yisomen sha'amru gedolim. Yisomen sha'amru gedolim. The Yisomim, when we say you collect Yisomim, it's not only Ktanim, but it's also Gdolim. Bein Sarach Lo Mektanim, Bein L'Shvur, Bein L'Ziburs. When you collect, you have to make a Shvur from them, you have to take a Shvur, and you only collect from Ziburs, from the worst of the assets. Okay, so therefore, that's why he has two, that's why you have our Mishnah later. Mishnah one for when you're collecting from Yisomim who are Gdolim, and one from Ktanim. All right, that's what the Mishnah, that's what the Pshat in the Mishnah is. What does it mean, Lehekdish? When you come to collect Mishnah, what are you collecting from Hekdish? Right? Vipar Menechse Hekdish, to collect from the Chasam of Hekdish. What does that mean? A man gave all his assets to the base of Mikdash. Then somebody says, wait a minute, I have an IOU from you from 10 years ago. You owe me money. So where is he going to collect from Hekdesh? Because he had a prior lien on it before Hekdesh. The guy owed him the money. The person who donated all his assets to Hekdesh owed this guy money from 10 years ago. So this guy's got a claim. He owned it before he gave it to Hekdesh. He belonged to it. But you're coming to collect from Hekdesh? Says Gemara. So that's what the Mishnah means over here. When you're coming to collect from a Katan or from Hekdesh, two different cases, Hekdesh, you have to make a shvua. Tanina, we learned that already elsewhere. He says, if assets which are obligated, which are mortgaged to somebody else, you have to make a shvua. In other words, whatever it was, even if it's you have a loaner, a creditor, and a debtor, and the debtor owed money to other people first, and now the creditors come to collect from, or the people with the prior liens are coming to collect from the people with the later lien. That's nechasim mishubadim. It says there, you have to collect with a shvua. You have to make a shvua that you haven't been paid. Well, what's the difference if it's to a commoner or to the base of Mikdash? Either way, you have to collect with the shvua. If you're collecting from assets which are already obligated to somebody else, it's so. What do I need both for? You need both. I think person can make a kunya, can make a conspiracy against that. What does it mean by that? The Malva lent the money, lent him $10,000, lent the Lova $10,000. The Lova doesn't have the money, but what does he do? He had assets that he had sold to somebody else, and now he gives the Malva a predated shtarchov saying that he owed the Malva this money from 50 years ago. So now he'll make a claim to steal the money from people that he sold property to later on. In other words, he sold property to somebody in 2020, let's say, and now he makes up a shtar that he owes money to this guy from 2015. So in order to steal the assets from the guy that he sold the property to in 2020, you might make a person can make a 20. He'll tell the Lord, listen, we'll go collect from that guy that I sold the property to 10 years ago, and we'll split it. We'll make a game. We'll make a k'nin here, maybe on a heged. Aval hegdish, ain't no the most a person not going to steal from hegdish that way. Come on, right? A person not going to steal from hegdish that way. What? To say that I gave the money, I gave everything to hegdish. Now I'll make up a shtar that I owe the money to somebody else before. Right, to take it to in order to take it back from Hagdish, would you do that? No, you wouldn't do that. Kamashmalim that a person would do that. In other words, even when you collect from Hagdish, you don't assume you're not going to make a shtick, and that if you're collecting from Hagdish, if I have a legitimate shtar, would I have to make a shvur for? No, we're afraid that a person will make a conspiracy to steal from Hagdish also. So that's what the Mishnahs mean. We're not talking about a claim and a counterclaim. We're talking about when you're coming to collect the assets of a deceased man from his children, or you're coming to take assets from Hegdish, claiming that you were owed those assets before they were given to Hegdish. You had no right to give them to Hegdish. So we say over here, Kamash Malon, that a person would steal from Hegdish also, and therefore when you collect from Hegdish, you have to make a shvuah. Ivam Rafuna Shchimira, a person who's dying, Shegdish Kol Nechosab. He gave all his assets to Hegdish. He sanctified everything. Balmar, then he said, Mar Laploni Biadi. Wait a minute, I owe this other guy, I forgot I owe this guy $100. Neman, he's believed. Chazaka, a person's not going to make a chazaka. In other words, he's believed to take that money back from Hegdish without a shvuah. A man who's dying, he's not going to lie. Like you say, a man on his deathbed is not going to lie, he's not going to cheat. Because who is it going to gain? It's going to gain his heirs, his yorshim. He's not going to lie and cheat for them. But if a person's healthy and he says, what? Oh, I gave everything to the base of English, but I forgot that I owed that guy $10,000, right? I forgot about that. Maybe that is a shtick, and maybe he's trying to steal the money back from Hegdish. Therefore, he has to make a shvuah. The only time you say a person wouldn't do that is if he's dying. The Eilu Dvarim says the Mishnah, Eilu Dvarim Sheinish Monalim. The following things, there's no shvuahs. We have this many places. We've discussed it in the last few days, many places. You don't make a shvuah on karka. We'll say you don't make a shvuah on avodim. That means avodim knanim. In terms of you owe them or whatever. Or they are owed to you, whatever it was. Vashtars, you don't make a shvuah on stars, on documents. Vakarkos, and on land, real estate. Vakteshus, so you don't make a shvuah on hegdish. What do you mean by that? We're talking about here basically where somebody, I deposited something with somebody like a shomer or a ganaf or whatever it was. You don't make a shvuah on those things at all. Why? We'll see based on a pasuk. Also, there's no kefil. Because it says by kefil, ish l're'eh, you have to pay your fellow, but not hegdish. There's no payments of 4 or 5 if you stole an animal and shechted it or sold it. Shamachinim doesn't swear on those things. All those 4 things. Avodim, stars, karkas, and hegdish. Shamachinim doesn't swear. No sachar, shomer sachar, who's a hired hand who's paid to guard. Also, he doesn't pay kefil on those things. Rabbi Shimon Omer. It depends. Let's say I was makdish something, makdish an animal, and I'm responsible for it. For example, where I said harei alai carbon. I'm going to bring a carbon ola, and I set aside this animal for my carbon, and now I ask Yankel to watch it for me, to guard it for me. Okay, so in a case like that, since I, the owner, the one who donated the animal to the base of Mikdash. Since I'm chayiv and achrayis on it, if the animal gets lost or stolen, I got to make up another one because I said harei alai. So since I'm responsible for it, therefore it's like mine, and therefore if I gave it to a shomer and he lost it, he'd have to swear that he wasn't negligent. If I just said Harezu Ola, not responsible for it, Ainish born lane, because that's Hegdish's. Pasuk says Re'eu and not Hegdish. There are certain things which are karka, but they're not like karka. They are in karka. Big karka. They're in the land. They're not going to. What are we talking about? I gave you 10 laden vines, laden with grapes. It was only 5. Motive b'mixas, right? But it's karka. So what would you say there? So Rav Meir Machayev Shvua. Rav Meir says it's attached to the ground, but since it's grapes ready to be picked, it's considered like metalplin, and therefore you would make a shvu on that. If it's attached to the ground, it's karka, and you don't make a shvu on that. Obviously, there would be a shvu as heses d'rabbanan, but there's no shvu d'oraisa based on the psukim, because the psukim that talk about I gave you something to watch or guard, etc., or you towing time, it's got to be sold, you claim that it was stolen, whatever. All those psukim are talking about, they're excluding avodim shtaros karka and hektish, as we will see from the psukim, no kefil, etc. Einish born. When do you swear? Mother makes us eladavar shavamid of shemashua. It's got to be something finite, something definite. That means it's got to be something which can be measured, weighed, or counted. It has a number. But if there is no such thing, that's not mother makes this case. So what do we mean by that? I gave you a house full of goods. I gave you a wallet full of money, a purse full of money. I don't know. Take whatever's there, whatever you put down. I don't know. Whatever's left there, take. I don't know. I didn't take anything. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I only any day. I don't know. I don't know how much is missing. Whatever you put down, take. I don't have exact number. You're part of making a shvua. Let's say the Balabai says, you know what? I gave you a storeroom full of grain up to the beam. Up to the beam was full there. No, only up to the window. Even though there was no number, but it was a finite amount. So it's something that could be measured, right? It's measured. Did you give you up to here or up to here? That's measured. There you would be able to mix this. So we see a mother mixes only applies to finite items. And it only, even according to Chachamim, even if it's attached to the ground, but if it's grapes that are ready to be picked, and we say sometimes that what kol ha'omer lifts or kibbutzer dummy, but Chum say if it's attached to the ground, you don't make a shvu on that. Where do we get this from? Tashlum kefil minol. How do you know you don't pay kefil on all these things? We said that you don't swear on them and you don't pay kefil. Where do we get this? Where's the whole parsha of Shomer? So the pasuk says, "Ki yitain ish areu kesef okelim lishmor." Right? V'gunav ve'seish, it goes on, etc. And then it says, if he claimed it was stolen and it wasn't, or he stole it himself, he's got to pay to it. Then it goes on. I'll call it varpesha, anything of liability. That's a call. Anything, any items. Then it says, I'll show I'll sell some on a ox, donkey, a lamb, a sheep, or a garment. Prat tells you specific things. Prat. I'll cultivate it. Then it goes on anything that's lost. Chazvakol. You have another klal at the end. So what do we have here? Klal, klal. What's the rule of klal, klal? It's got to be something like the prat. Ma prat mefurish. What are the prat? The shore, the chamor, the sed, the salma, davar metal, something that's movable, goof a moment, and it has intrinsic value to it. It's got a intrinsic value. The item itself is worth something. I've called davar metal the goof a moment. So we're only talking about where you chayiv the shvuas motiv and mixas, and where you chayiv to pay double if it turns out you stole it or you actually stole it. You actually stole it or towing tanis ganav. It's only something that's movable and has intrinsic value. Yatsu karkos. So that excludes karka shei metal, which is not movable. Yatsu avadim excludes avadim shuk shel karkos, because it says what? It's nachaltam with some livnechem afrechem. There's a kekish between karka and avadim. Yatsu star said excludes staros, claiming, let's say, is this star mine? Is it yours, etc. Afisha metal, even though it's movable, and gufamam has no intrinsic value. It's just like toilet paper. It's not worth anything. Hegdish, why is Hegdish excluded? Because it says Rei Ehu. Sham Sham Rei Ehu. Kitain Ish El Rei Ehu. It only applies to commoners, not to Hegdish. And then the Mishnah said V'lo Chamisha, and you don't pay 4 or 5 either if it was a shore set and it was a sale or shore and it was stolen and then sold or shechted. Why not? My timer. If you don't have kefil, you don't have Arba Chamisha. Kefil is double, right? You pay total. If you burgled something, you have to pay double. If Adam caught you and you didn't admit it first or whatever, according to some, even if you admit it afterwards, right? Motive mix is even achareya. If you're a motive knas acharei, but the push-up shot, we hold that if Adam come and caught you, you have to pay double. When do you pay 4 or 5? If you not only burgled it, but then you sold it or stole it, if it was an animal, shor or set. But if there's no kefil, there can't be 4 or 5 because the pasuk says 4 or 5, not 3 or 4, because the kefil is included in the 4 or 5. Shomachina managed, but Shomachina does not swear on these things. Because at the beginning of the parsha said, Tan Rabbanan, Kitin Ishalreu Kesav Okelim Lishmor, right? Kitin Ishalreu Klau, give him anything. Kesav Okelim Prat, that's the Prat. Kesav or Kelim, money or vessels. Lishmor to guard, Chazav Okal. So again, we have a Kal Prat, a Klau. We have a Kal Prat in the first pasuk of Kitin Ishalreu Kesef Okelim Lishmor. Kitin Ishalreu is everything. Kesav Okelim is a prat, lishmor to guard anything. That's a kal prat or klal. Yet the same thing. Ma prat before shdavar tal davar moment. Just like the prat, which is what Kesav Okelim is something movable and has intrinsic value. I've called davar tal davar moment. That's what we're talking about. That's when Shomachim has the shred. It says that he'll shvuas Hashem ben shneim, etc. He has to make a shvuas. That's a shvuas shomer, which we're going to talk about later on. Shvuas shomrim. As we said the other day, that there are 3 shvuas d'oraisa, shvuas monomixas, shvuas shomrim, and shvuas eid echad connected. When one eid testifies against you, he can't be mechayiv yimanim, he can mechayiv you a shvua. Afkal b'nachlik yatsu karkos she'em metal. Again, excluding karka not metal. Yatsu avadim shikshal karkos, excluding avadim which are juxtaposed with karka. Yatsu shtarish afal pishim metal. Even though stars are movable, ein gufa mammon and hegdish again rayeuksif. So again, the first pasuk talks in general when you gave something to somebody else to guard. Pasuk there is talking about basically out of Shomachina, and he gets off the hook if he says it was lost or stolen from me or whatever, or they robbed it from me. Not my responsibility. I just have to swear that I wasn't negligent, right? But again, what are we speaking about? Only Shomachina. What does a Shomachina swear on? Swears that he wasn't negligent. He wasn't negligent. He's off the hook. He doesn't have to pay for Genev and Aveda. Genev and Aveda is only if he was an Osei Sacher, if he was a Shomer Sacher. So again, Shomachinam doesn't swear on this because it's excluded from the pasuk. It said pasuk has only movables and have intrinsic value, and it's only if you give it to a commoner, not from Hegdish. So you don't swear to Hegdish. Goes on. No say Sacher and Mishnah. Mishnah said that a Shomer Sacher and Shomer Sacher. What's his rule? Not only is he chayav for negligence, he's also chayav for Genev and Aveda. If he says it was stolen or lost it, he's got to pay. He's got to pay for it. But over here, if it's karka, he doesn't pay. Again, same thing with all the Torah Rabbanan. Same pasuk. Kitin initial reo kesef okelim lishmor. Again, the beginning pasuk talks about shamachinim, but then it goes on to talk about a towing tainus ganav and a shomer sacher. And it says there, the beginning of the pasuk says, right, if he was paid, then he's got to. If he was a paid guard, he's got to pay for it, unless it was taken away from him by force. In other words, an onus. He doesn't pay for an onus. So it says over there again, the beginning of the post says, klal chamor shor se prat, right? This is the second parsha. Chamor shor se v'chol behem lishmor, any kind of an animal. Chazav kol. There it says uprat. Kol parakal ena tadan elken prat. Just like the prat, the chamor or shor se is a movable and its intrinsic value. So all things that the only thing a shomer sacher has to pay for is if it was lost or stolen. If it was lost or stolen or negligent for sure, only things that are movable and have a kind of intrinsic value, excluding karka, vadim, and stars, as we've said. And again, hegdish reyeuksiv. Again, it says 3 times rey. It says kiten nishal reu klal by shomer sacher chamor shoseh. It says kiten nishal reu by shomer chinam. Right? So all these things don't apply. And I'll call Var Pesha Shem Shem there also talks about Reyeu. So Hegdish is excluded in all these cases. All right, we'll pick up here tomorrow, Mr. Shem, from Rav Meir Omer, describing that part of the Mishnah about things which are karka and not like karka. Rav Meir says, again, like grapes or whatever, trees that are laden, he considers that not karka. Not the same, right? Not the same.